So what's going on, guys? Welcome everybody back to a brand new video on the channel. Hope y'all are doing well, and this might be probably the most important discussion that we're going to have amongst ourselves as a community probably in a long time. This is going to single-handedly affect each and every player regardless of what platform you play on and how you enjoy the game. And this marks the official first episode of Hot Topic Tuesdays, a brand new series we're doing here. If you watched my last video, you can think about that as a bit of a test run where every single Tuesday, this is a community-driven video series where you guys in the comment section leave topics, maybe controversial, maybe not. But the overall idea is that you guys in the comment section get to pick the topics to talk about. And so if there's anything about PUBG that you particularly want to hear a discussion on, then drop that down below in the comment section. I really hope you guys enjoy this series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want to see this series continue, please show me by dropping a like rating. That would be great. And of course, leave your comment for next week's episode down below, and I'm going to be reading through all of them. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel, of course. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic of discussion is brought to us by Boogeyman at Games, and he wants to talk about the new ping lock system that PUBG should be getting relatively soon. Now, this unfortunately comes to us because of some recent revelations, we'll say, about the poor networking that PUBG has implemented currently. And so to really understand what ping lock is going to be or what it is, we need to dive pretty deep into this one. Now, the other day, Wacky Jackie made a video displaying the differences between high ping versus low ping players within gunfights and just in general your gameplay experience. And using these two extremes, we were able to find some pretty weird things. Now, if you didn't see the video yourself, unfortunately you can't go watch it anymore because it's been deleted. Not because the information in the video was inaccurate or false. Everything in that video was true, but it caused a lot of negativity and backlash to come out of it, and he ultimately decided to take it down. And fair enough, if you feel like the negativity coming out of it is just not healthy for the community, then that's absolutely his prerogative. But I also feel that the information in that video is too big to just be ignored, and so I wanted to at least discuss some of those results in this video today and potentially talk about a solution. The findings and the results of this test were pretty baffling, and so I think it's, somewhat reasonable for people to be a little bit upset about this. Now, before we dive deep into the results of this and what they mean, I want to preface this by saying this is absolutely in no way, shape, or form just a PUBG problem. This is virtually every online video game has this to some degree, but right now it's very apparent in PUBG for one reason or another, which we'll get into. But this is not just something you can rest on the shoulders of Battlegrounds itself. Again, that's super important to keep in mind as we talk about this. Now, let's discuss ping really quickly. Ping is essentially the amount of time that it takes for you, the player, to give information to the server, and then for it to return feedback to you. There is your total amount of ping, which is for those two processes to happen. So this means a player with very low ping is giving information and getting feedback from the server very quickly as compared to a player with high ping who is taking a much longer time to give information and also get it back. And a lot of times your ping is in part determined by your geographical location in relation to the server you're playing on, and then it also has a lot to do with like your actual IP and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of factors involved in that, and that's pretty much stretching to the ends of my knowledge on that. The point is, ping is very complicated, and it's not just determined down to one factor, but the findings of this test were essentially that high ping players have a seriously clear-cut advantage when it comes to gunfights compared to low ping players. Now, when you play PUBG on a high ping, you might notice that looting takes a little bit longer, getting in vehicles and just basically all the general actions maybe take a half a second delay for them to really, be in action. But when it comes to gunfights, there is some sort of lag compensation that is happening that makes it very easy for high ping players to just completely outgun low ping. It's important to know the test was done on some pretty extreme pings. It was like 500 plus milliseconds for the high ping and then something like 20 for the very low. So very two ends of the spectrum here, but the point is that the high ping player could theoretically kill his enemy who is on a low ping without the enemy even being able to see him first. It also demonstrated very clearly that if you're per se a low ping player, you're running around a corner getting shot by a high ping player, there is a very high chance that you're going to take damage and get these bullets around corners, these magic shots that somehow find their way to you, even though you're very clearly back behind cover. And this is exactly the issue we're talking about. The phrase that you hear all the time for this is desync, and desync in PUBG and lag compensation go hand in hand. Now, lag compensation is a little bit hard to explain, and this is a system that is implemented in every video game because in an ideal world when this works, then this makes host advantage disadvantage in ping's pretty much irrelevant. So let me try and go ahead and unpack this really quick. I'm going to try to explain this in the most easy to understand terms that I can. So let's say a PUBG game is beginning, okay? And let's say that they're all connecting to a server which is located in the middle of a country. It doesn't matter which country, but let's just say it's in the middle of some hypothetical one. Now, all the players connecting to the server are from all over that country. Maybe some are very far away from the server on the outer ends of the country, and some are potentially right next to it, having, very favorable connection, very low ping. Now, if this was the only system in place, it's pretty simple that the person closest to the server with the lowest ping is just going to have the biggest advantage in game. But that's not how it is, not in PUBG and not in other online games either. There is a system in place that I'm going to refer to as lag compensation that pretty much evens the playing field for even those high ping players without really denigrating the experience of the low ping players. Let's use that same hypothetical example and say somebody's connecting with a ridiculously high ping. And so in order to avoid breaking the game for everybody, especially in a game like PUBG where you need to lead bullets in relation to where your target is in a fraction of a second, and it needs to be very precise. If that character is lagging behind, they're pretty much going to be invincible. You're not going to be able to hit them very well because their character on screen is going to be significantly delayed to what you see. And so in order to avoid this, there is a system of lag compensation that is put in to, again, equalize this out for everybody and make sure that gunfights look right and they make sense as much as that's possible. But the problem with that is that, first of all, that's where my knowledge ends on that. Lag compensation is in virtually every game, and it's very difficult, and I don't know how the inner workings of it, and I don't know the mechanisms of such systems, but that's essentially the idea that, from my understanding, how it works. The only person that probably knows how PUBG's lag comp works is the networkers that build the game, but other than that, this is not widely available information, but that's the basics and how it should be working out. Now, the reason, again, lag compensation is a thing is to make sure that these high ping players aren't destroying the experience for low ping players. Now, in my gaming career, I've played a lot of video games. There's some with very, kind of laid back lag compensation, and some that I think absolutely overdo it and make the problem worse for everyone. But I'm not really sure where PUBG's falls on that spectrum, but the point is that whatever system is in place for gunfighting and equalizing those connections and making sure it looks right for everybody, something is broken in very extreme cases. And then this is where it starts to get really messy. You have a lot of players from other regions using VPNs to connect to a server that is not their own geographically, and thus making that problem exponentially worse for the players that are native to that server. If you're using a VPN to connect to a region that is not your own, you are seriously denigrating the experience for everybody who is native to that server, and it's very difficult for anybody to really enjoy the game when this, very extreme system is put into place. Now, hopefully this was able to shed a little bit of light on the complexity of the situation we have in front of us, because I get comments all the time directed at PUBG just of people being like, just fix the desync, lol. But it's way more complicated than just that. It's a very complex, fine-tuned system that has to work for everybody, regardless of where they're connecting in relation to the server, and there's just a million different variables that I'm not even qualified to bring up because this was not my area of training, it's not my expertise. I know virtually nothing about this. I am so unbelievably ignorant to the inner workings of video game networking that I shouldn't even have to talk about it anymore. This has started to become a big problem recently because not only have I noticed, but many in the community, that connections have been very strange recently, to say the least. I've been experiencing a lot of packet loss depending on what server I'm connecting to, even though my internet theoretically is perfect and I can only connect to one server in which I have low ping, but I've also realized that I get absolutely blasted around corners in those low ping servers for the reasons we just mentioned above. And I also think the problem has been made much worse recently with a lot of players just using VPNs to get on servers that they don't normally play on or ones that they should be connecting to, and also the fact that they're trying new things with server locations to figure out where exactly they want to put them, and then their third-party servers are having issues, and it's pretty much a perfect storm of just bad connections in this game for everybody involved. And I think that's why I've had a lot of complaints recently about it, not only from, my community, but basically from the entire PUBG community as a whole. Now, we've laid out the problem pretty clearly, and I know it sounds very bleak, but I'm going to look at the positive, the bright side of this for a second. Now, this might be a big wake-up call for PUBG to look at their lag compensation systems and potentially, network them a little bit better, however they would do that and however long that would take. Implementing a system like ping lock, where only players of similar ping are going to be able to queue up in a match. And theoretically, that sounds pretty good to me, because it would mean that there is far less discrepancy between these weird gunfights and getting hit around corners, and it would just make the experience smoother for everyone involved. That might affect matchmaking a little bit because you'd have to find players that are specifically your ping, and that would, work out. So matchmaking might take a little longer as a result of that, but it is an idea to consider. Whenever they sort out the issues with their third-party servers that are going on and just basically everything else that they are currently solving, then I think when these things come together, we'll have a very, very good experience when it comes to connections in this game. Because, it was good for a long time, and then recently it's gotten a little bit rough, and I kind of understand why now that we've all laid this out. But of course, this does present a huge problem to us, and PUBG has not yet commented on the situation of this and the severity of it, but I definitely wanted to at least talk about it, and so we can get a discussion going, and I want to know what you guys think about it down below. But I hope this video made sense, and I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. If you want to see this series continue, drop a like rating, and I will absolutely make sure that we do more of this. And of course, leave your comment down below if you want to see a topic for next week's episode. Check back every Tuesday because there will be another one, and you have a chance to get featured in the video. So anyways, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next live stream or the next video. Take it easy, everyone, and peace out.